Everybody, it's Carol. It's week 5 of OTL 5500, and we're considering visual learning and learning styles in online education this week. And we wanted to consider whether or not we thought of ourselves as visual learners. And I always considered myself fairly adaptable to any style of teaching when I was a student, so I didn't really think of myself as a visual learner. But as I watched my children learn in school, and as I've been in this online program, I would undoubtedly say that I am a visual learner. There is not a lecture that I listen to, or a video that Dr. Langhorst does, or a book that I read that I don't take notes. I always have a notebook next to me. I write questions down. I take notes as I'm reading or as I'm listening. Even as I read the articles, I like to take notes so that I remember things. If I write it down, then I can remember it. And I have an almost photographic memory. And so as I read something, I know that I'm looking at that page in my head when I'm composing an answer. I can kind of see the page. So I realize that is my visual learning. That's what I'm able to do. So I do see that as that I am a visual learner. And I really didn't think of that when I was a younger person. I think that students in a traditional classroom can be at a disadvantage, and of course that depends on the teaching style in the classroom. And I think back to my early days of teaching, which I sort of modeled after my college days. Frankly, I was young and I left college and I thought, okay, I will just go and I'll have a lecture class like I had just had in college. And of course, I was taught things to do as a new teacher in methods classes, but primarily I was teaching older students, and so I thought I should do lectures, and I can see where that was difficult for them. But I think probably I drew on the idea that I was a visual learner. I always put notes on the board. And I think probably where this becomes a problem for a visual learner is not that the teacher doesn't put notes on the board, which is helpful, but that then we start to talk off the cuff. We look out there and we see, oh, well, they maybe don't get this, or maybe I'll give you an anecdote to help you understand this. And then it gets the student off track, or the student's mind wanders, or there's really nothing for them to look at during that anecdotal experience that you're saying, or those extra bits of information. And so I can see where that would be a problem. Certainly, when I became more experienced and I taught younger students, then I learned that I needed to have some sort of maybe a worksheet, and I used that, an outline, to that they could fill in as they went along, where they weren't good at note taking, and so I tried to instruct them how to do that. But I think it's more talking about using things like some of the technology that we have now. And of course, back then there wasn't as much technology. I mean, visual was a lot of times just using pictures or posters or an occasional film strip or video of some sort, but there wasn't a lot of computer technology or anything like that that we could use, or even interactive games. And so I think that was different. Um, I also I think about how my own daughter, one who has ADD, learns, and I think that it was difficult for her to be in classes where a teacher only taught doing a lecture style classroom. And so I would say that definitely in that face-to-face class, that was a difficult thing. When I think about the article that we read and my experiences in online learning, there were some comments that Devin Haney made that really resonated with me. One was a quote by the student from Alaska who was the master's student at Boston University. I'm going to read this. He said, it really does feel like I'm paying $3,000 for this class to read this book and try to teach myself. And that's a little frustrating because I'm attending this university because I want somebody to teach me. I'm here to learn. And I know we've talked about this in our previous courses, and I've had that experience in a couple of courses, and I think some of you probably have too. And that idea of having a self-taught class is frustrating. But it seems that what Haney was trying to do was to caution adults who want to engage in online learning to know your learning style so that you choose the right kind of online learning, and that you also maybe check out schools to see how they deliver their information, what they use. And so it seems like the flipped classroom, this idea of wanting the visual presentation from an instructor, was the second most popular way of getting information, according to that survey that she referenced. And that um, speaks to the flipped classroom, as we said from last week. So it seems like if you're a visual learner, you might try and choose an online program that has that. I did not do that, of course, when I signed up. I didn't know anything about it. It took me until this course to even know what a flipped classroom was. But I don't have any complaints. I think it's worked out fine for me, and I guess I just have that sort of discipline that she talked about, as do all of you, as I've seen that in our class. Um, so in my content area, what would I do? So if I want to teach literature, I'm still going to have to assign a book. There's still going to be reading and there's still going to be writing, but I would try and incorporate on the undergraduate level or a higher level high school class more of the technology that we've been learning. I think that that gives that visual presentation. I would try and incorporate videos. I found a TEDx, or not TEDx, but TED Ed video that I really liked for my lesson plan this week. And I think that that's engaging to students. I think doing the flipped classroom is good. That will take some getting used to for me. But I think that that gives students an opportunity to watch a lecture again and again, or at least a time or two, and stop the instructor, take notes, and write things down. And so I think that since technology is in all of social and business life, it behooves anybody who's going into education to be really very familiar with that. And I know we've talked about the digital divide, and I certainly think that's part of a problem that we have, but I think that we are going to have to continue to forge ahead with technology and hope that the access to internet, Wi-Fi, and the hardware will eventually come around. Um, so I think that those were the things that I would do. I'll be interested to hear what you have to say and what type of learner you think you are. I was hoping to keep this at 5 minutes, and I'm sorry I didn't do that. Hope you all have a good week.